So hi guys, welcome back to Learn to Code class 3. Happy to see you again. So to give a quick recap on the previous two sessions, we were able to build a web application using Python and Flask, which has one HTML form, one HTML page with a form to get the student ID and the date of absence for our absence management, absence notifier system. So in today's session, first we will add a new route to get the data from the HTML form, and then we will add a bit of styling to make the form user friendly. And finally, I will explain how to use this data to connect to an API to send the SMS. Okay, now let's get started, and you guys can follow along with me. And if any of y'all haven't joined any of the previous sessions, you don't have to worry. We will share the code files and also the video of the session. So drop an email after the session if you want the video and the code files. Anyways, I'll share the code link after the session in the chat. Okay, now the first thing we will do is we will add a new route in here. So we have one default root route, and we will add a new route. From that route, we will get the data from this form to our code
Excuse
base.
me.
Hello, yes.
I am new for this class, so what are we going to do?
Okay, wait. I'll share you the code, Shamin. So what you can do is yeah, I will give instructions to how to save this code in your Google Drive, and after the session, you can mail us, and we'll send the video link to you, so you can follow along with the video. Until that, you just listen to what I'm explaining the theories and what we are going to do. Okay.
Uh, if you can send that link to the chat so I could. Okay.
Okay. So after you open the link, go to Files and click on Save a Copy in Drive, and it will open a new window. So that means that copy is saved in your Google Drive, so you can edit it. Okay, back to the code. Okay, so we will be adding a new route to get the data from this form we created last week. So let's get started.
It says you need access.
Okay, give me a second. Okay, you can try it again and see. Okay, now we'll create a new route. So we will name it as submit, because we are using it to submit the form document. Let's go ahead and copy. We can start from scratch even. So let's just take a look at the first app route, and you have to copy the same thing. So it will be .app at app dot route. And in open brackets, and we'll call it /submit. The reason we are calling it submit is you can see in the form also the action is mentioned as submit. So what the form does is, once the submit button is clicked, it will send these data to this route. So that's why we are using the same name submit in here. And then the definition, you can name it whatever you want. For now, for the we'll name it submit itself. And here in here, inside the definition, this is called the definitions body. So in here only we will try to get the data from the form. So if you see in the form, we have two main data. So one is the student ID and the other one is the date. So we need two variables. So first one is student ID and the date of absence. And the way of getting the data is in Flask, we have this module called requests. So in the request module and request, it provides the form inside that request. So in the request, we have form, and from the form, we have to get the input, the value of the input field, student ID. So in this input field, student ID, you can see we have mentioned the ID as student ID. So copy that same thing and you have to enter it here. Same thing for the data as well. Request dot form dot get, and in the input field date, the ID is also date. So now we are getting, so don't run the code now itself because it won't work. So we'll complete the first route part and then we'll try to run it and then we can test it out. So far what we achieved is in the form, once the submit button is clicked, the form will send these data into this route. So in the route, we will use this request.form.get and we will pass the input types ID to get the data from the particular element in the form. In our case, we have only two elements. So the input field for student ID and the input field for the date. And now after getting this data, we'll have to again return to a page in our web page. So we won't create a new web page for that. We'll return the same form as before. So you can copy the code from the top. So it will be returned render template form.html. So in Python, we can, so you can see in below, if you, when you run the code, some lines are getting printed. So these are, this thing is called the console. So to make sure we are getting the data from the form, what we can do is we can print these two variables in the console and see whether we are getting it from the form. So I'll add a print statement. So to print a console statement, you'll have to add the print method, and inside that student ID us, and the variable name is student ID. And the date, the date is, okay, I think now it should work. So let's since we are running it for the first time today, I think we'll have to start from the top. It says error request dot form dot get. Okay, so yeah, I have made a typing mistake. It says running. You can click the second link. Okay, and I'll add John 123, and as for the date, I'll add this Monday 13th. I'll click the submit. Why it says okay. Okay, so the reason why we are getting an error is to submit a form, the method type. So in any web application, we mainly have 4 types of methods. So the default method is get. So these methods are get methods. So get methods are normally used to get data. So we won't be sending any data from our side. We will only get data from the application side. So those are called get methods. And since we are getting the data from the form, and we will be editing this data, this method is called post. It should be post. So inside the app route, after entering the route name, submit, put a comma, and we'll need to pass a method. Methods equals inside square brackets post. You have to run it from the top right. Okay, let's try again and see. I'll close the previous tabs. John 123 13th submit. Okay, now you can
Sir,
see that, right? Yeah.
sir, could you please send the code for this print student ID? That one?
This one. Okay,
Yes.
I'll send it. Okay, okay. Uh, I'll send it after I explain this one, this part. So as you can see, our two print statements here, student ID is John 123 and the date is printed. So I'll send this whole app route. So make sure the alignments are correct. So the first 2 lines are attached to the attached to the start of the line, and the below the body part has 2 spaces at the beginning. So make sure that the alignments are correct, because in Python, if not, it will give an error. So now we are getting the data from the form, no issues. So we have the data in our side in the code itself. So what we can do is, now anyways we are going to send a message. So let's create a variable for the message also. So the message equals we'll send a message called student of this ID, student ID will be absent on state. This is our message. We'll print the message as well. You can add those 2 lines after the print state, after 2 print statements we had, and I'll try to rerun it. So before rerunning it, you'll have to make sure you stop this app.run. Says an error message because I have the dot. So don't use that. I think we have. Yeah, don't use that one. I think I have a typing mistake in that one. You can use the last one I sent. So Jasita, you I sent you the link for this code, right? So I'll send it again. Go to this link, and once the file is open, go to File, select Save a Copy in Drive, and in the copied file you can edit this code. Now let's try to rerun it. I'll enter how fast 1, 2, 3. The date, we'll keep it today. Submit. Okay, you can see student ID is printed, date is there, student half hours 1, 2, 3. There should be a space here. Space here. Will be absent on this date. So message is also done. So up to now, if you all have any questions, or if you are struggling with setting it up, you can ask it in the chat, or you can ask your doubts. Jasita, you'll have to edit. I think I sent you the updated version, so I think the whole thing is there. You just run it and see. So make sure you have this. Make sure you have all of these lines. So the most important ones are the student ID, date, and the message part. So the print lines are not important. Just he had to check whether we are getting the data from the form. So make sure you have these 3 lines. The message equals student ID, the date equals request.form.getDate, and the student ID equals request.form.getStudent ID. Shamin, I shared you the link. So after the session, I will be sharing the completed version of this practical file. Yes, no, I didn't share this form.html. So Shamin, I will share you the whole code. So you can go through the code, and if you want the video, you can email us. We'll send the video links for the previous sessions and this session, so you can follow along. And generally, to create this form.html, what I can do is, so go to inside your drive there. If you have copied this file into your drive, it will automatically create a directly called collab notebooks, and inside collab notebooks create another folder named templates. Templates.
What should I do after opening the drive?
So Shami, did you copy the file into your drive? So if you click on open, save a copy to drive, it will automatically save that copy into your drive.
But I wasn't able to open that collab file because there wasn't any access for me to open it.
Did you try again?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Give me a second.
I even sent the request access.
Okay, I think I'll need to send a new link. Okay, you can try using this one. In the authorization code, just either if you clicked on the link above that, you will be redirected into a page where you can select one of your Gmail accounts. So if you have multiple Gmail accounts, uh, you can select the one you want, and then it will show something like this. Please copy this code. So copy that code and paste it in the authorization section, and just press enter. And after a while, you will get authorized. So it will mount your drive into the code. Assertion. So assertion error, for that, Minal, so every time you retry the code, to if you make a change and run it back, you'll have to run it from this third from the bottom. Yes, SAP equals flask, this
Uh,
line.
can you tell the link that should be clicked?
To okay. The last link I sent, you can click it.
Not to open that HTML.
Yeah, for the HTML, Shamin. So for those who don't have the HTML file, uh, so first of all, you have to run the code. If you after you try to run only the third line, this from google.collab import drive. So what it does is it allows access to your Google Drive from your code base. So run this line, and it most probably it will ask for authorization code, and on the authorization code there will be a link on the top. So click it, and you will be going to a page where you can select your Gmail accounts. So select one of the Gmail accounts, and then uh, you can get the authorization code here. So if you click on your Gmail account, you will get something like this. So this is not your code, you will get something similar to this one. So copy that, and in the authorization part, there's a text box. So paste the code inside the text box and press enter, and after a few seconds you will get authorized. And then
Sir,
after yeah,
sir, when I start running from the third line from the bottom, at the last one, when I click on the link, it gets a server error, internal server error.
internal server.
505.
Okay, then Minal, you'll have to make sure the whole thing is correctly typed, because even if a slight mistake, this you won't be able to run the application. So make sure. So are you you have the HTML files, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I think it's most probably a typing error or a spacing issue. So make sure. Wait, I'll get all the important lines together.
What should I type in that text box?
You copy. You have to paste the copied authorization code. So here, if you select one of your Gmail account, you can get an authorization code for your account. So you can enter that inside that text box and press enter. And for those who don't have HTML, so after you mount your drive, there's inside you can go in your left side, there's a menu, and the last option is called files. So click the files one, and if this drive folder is not there, click on the reload thing. Uh, Even after that, if it's not loading, you can press this mount drive thing.
Sir,
And, yeah.
Sir, I had school classes and it was like it's compulsory to come for the all children to it, sir. So I joined right now. What did you do?
Okay, I'll share you the code so you can get a better idea. So if you missed any parts, don't worry, because you can request the video from us. So we will be sharing the video as well.
Oh,
So
sir.
Sir, I also joined now, sir. What should we do?
okay, for those who join now, I'll share the link here. So if you aren't able to run it, don't worry, because you can request the video after the session. So drop us an email and we'll send the video, and you can, to refer the code for now, you can use this code I sent. So click on the link, go to file, choose save a copy in drive, and it will open a separate copy, a file that is saved in your Google Drive.
Sir, since I can't do it from halfway, is it okay if I look at this and check the video and do it?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll share the HTML form also.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, is it compulsory to use this Google Colab? This kind of, this same link to do this project? Can't we use Python instead?
Actually, no. We are using Python. The difference is the platform we are using to code. So the reason we are using Google Colab is because it's easy. If you are going to use Python in your local setup, that means in your machine or any other laptop device. So if you are going to use it in your local device, you will have to do some pre-setup. So you will have to install Python and Python package manager. So it's a bit harder. If you are conducting a session, it's very easy to like set up the whole thing, because in the Google Colab platform, you don't need to set up anything. You just need to need a
No,
link,
sir,
and
the
you can go
reason
inside
is,
the Google Colab, open a notebook, and type the code.
yes, sir. No, the reason is in my one, nothing is working when I press that link thing.
Nothing
like it
is
always says internal error or something.
internal error. So did you try running it from the top?
Yes, I
Install
tried it several times. I tried it several times. Last week also I had the same issue. Like from the first class onwards, I had the same issue. It says internal error, or when I change it, it says it like the old thing is coming. But since we did some more differences in the last class, when I did it, then it started saying internal error.
I think it's I'm not sure, Hasangi, what's causing that issue. So if you are struggling with this one, I think anyways you can copy the whole thing into a separate Python file, and there's this similar platform called can't remember, Jupyter
No,
Notebook.
I asked this because I already have Python downloaded.
Okay, so what you can do is you can use the same code. So you in here the dark colored lines are the codes. So these comments you don't need. So you can copy this thing, these lines into a separate Python file. So that's a .py file, no? So copy it into a Python file, and you can run it. That's no issues. So if you have Python
Okay.
setup, then you don't have any issues. Yeah, Netsuki. So if it's asking for an authorization code, uh, on top of that message, you will get a link. So click on the link and open your Gmail account, and there you can get your authorization code. So copy the authorization code and paste it inside the text box and press enter.
So we can make the same setup using local text editors such as Visual Studio Code and PHP, MySQL, right? So,
Yes, yes, you can use Visual Studio Code. Yes. So since you are using Python, you can convert. If we are using some particular web framework, right? We are using Flask, so its code should be in Python anyways. But you can use any platform you want, Visual Studio Code, and there's a another one, IntelliJ, anything. So I send the HTML file as well, so you can copy the file into the folder. So if you have copied the class 3 Python notebook, it will create a folder called collab notebooks. So inside the collab notebooks directory, you have to create the templates folder. Should be templates, and inside this one you can copy your HTML files. And you can once you double click it, it will open on the site. So any more questions?
Of course, Jasita has sent a question like he says he's getting an internal server error. Don't know at which point. Jasita, can you say like at which point you're getting that error?
Okay, Jessica, what's the issue? Okay. Suddenly, so it will open a separate file. So that file is saved in your Google Drive. So you can edit it. So make sure you have. So anyways, I'll send the whole completed thing after the session. So make sure you have these lines inside the code, and uh, try to create the templates folder inside the collab notebooks directory, and I send the form.html file as well, so you can copy that form.html file inside the templates folder.
Sir, so like, sir,
Can't hear you, Sanvi. I think you are muted. I have clicked on the second link that you said, and then internal server. Just the internal server means there's something wrong in the code that you have typed. So this part, there must be something wrong. Maybe a spelling error, or you have missed something. So
Oh,
You
I'll
wanna
check.
make-
I'll check it.
to edit it, so you can just go and edit the code in the dark colored line. So I think if you are using the light theme, also it should be the dark, yeah, the gray color box. So the gray color cells you can edit. So these are the code. The other part is comments. So you don't have to worry about the comments. It's just to make it's just a comment on what's that line. So here you can edit the code. Okay, then I'll move into the next part. So the next part is not a like a logical coding part, but the styling part. So we will add internal CSS styling. So if you can continue with what you are doing and just listen in the background about CSS and the things we can do with CSS. So if you are still yeah, after that you can follow along. So I'll just briefly explain what CSS is and how to use that. So you can see in the form, it's not just user friendly, right? Yeah, we have to make the button a bit bigger, and these student ID dates are not aligned. So those issues, to cover those issues, we can add a styling thing called CSS. So if you can visit this site, so W3 School, and learn more about CSS in here. So simply saying CSS, we can use CSS to style the elements in our HTML page. So in our HTML page, we have the H1 element, the header one, the form. Inside the form element, we have input in the type of submit, in the input type of date, and input type of text, uh, and so on. So we can add stylings for each of these elements. So let's take a look on how to do that. So for that, we will be using internal CSS. So CSS can be used in three ways. So we can have a separate file that's called external CSS, and we can use styling inside the element itself like this. But if you have lots of elements, it will not look nice. No, so what we will do is we'll use something called internal CSS, where inside the head tag, so inside the HTML, on top of the HTML, we have this head tag. So we will add a style tag. You will have to close the tag as well. Inside here, we can include all our styling attributes. So mainly in our application, we have three input fields. So one is for text, one is for date, and another one is a button, input type submit button. So we'll need to add stylings for these three elements. So styling, so if you go inside here, it says CSS forms. So we will create something similar to this page. So I created a styling sheet separately. So you can copy this thing and paste it inside your style sheet. style tag. So style open and style close. In between, you'll copy the code, and here I'll explain each line separately. So here we have 4 main blocks. This one, the second one, the third, and the fourth. So each of these blocks represents styling of an element or the state of the element in the HTML page. The state means, let's say this we'll get this button. So the first state is the default state. The button is there, and once we move our mouse on top of that, you can see a slightly the color is changing. So that's called the hover state.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, because of last week when you teach to make that submitting thing, my one didn't work and I'm still stuck in that place, sir. So I tried to find the videos of the the recordings of the class, but I couldn't find it. How can I find it?
Let me drop
Hasang,
the
you can.
Yeah, Abbas, I will
Yeah, Mudara.
chat. I will drop the
All right.
in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Mudara.
And also, sir, is it compulsory to use this same? Can't we make our own code?
Yeah, you can make your own code, Hasang. This is just a demonstration on what technologies, what basic technologies you can use. So you can, yeah. The aim is to make you use some other advanced technologies as well. So if you can use this code as the base and build on top of this, or you can get the idea on what to build on from this project, and you can use your separate technologies. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, where was I? Okay, so here we have four main blocks. So you can see the first one is called input, and inside the input type is text. So what this represent is the input field we have, and the type is text. And here then from this we get to know, like, we need another two styling attributes, styling blocks. So for one is for input type date, and another one for input type submit. So here we have those also. So this is for input type submit, and this one is for input type date. And we have another one, extra one. So it says input type submit, but after a colon we have a thing called hover. So what the hover does is, once we move our mouse pointer on top of the button, we can change the color. No? So not only the color, we can change the size, any attribute we can change. So those attributes are mentioned in here. So what this does is, once we hover on top of our submit button, it will change the background color to this code. So don't worry about this. These codes are called hex codes. So hex codes represents a color. So you can copy this code, type hex code. So here you can see here there's a hex code, right? So you can paste it here and see what color, and you can get any hex code value for the color you want. Okay, now let's see what attributes we are using inside this style sheet. So the first one is the width. So width is the width of the input field. So we have used 50%. So 50% means 50% width of the parent element. So in here In the form, we don't have, our parent element is form. So these input tags are inside the form tag. So our parent element will be form. So it says 50% of the form element. And then we have padding and margin. So this padding, margin, this should be border radius. Padding, margin, those and the border. Those three things goes together. So let me explain it using a box model. So let's say you have content, and the space bit content, and around the content we have a thing called border. So the space between the border and the content is called padding. So default it's 0. So there's no space between the content and the border. And once you add padding, it will show the space between the border and the content. And the margin space means the area around out of the border. It's like this, the border. First of all, you have the margin, then the border. So if you have added padding, it will show the padding space and then the content. In our form, we have used padding. So here you can add 4 attributes, actually 4 attributes. So 1, 0, and 0. So the first one is the top padding. The padding here on the top, and then the padding on the right, and the bottom padding and the left padding. So in here we have only used the top and the right padding. So others are not included, so they will be 0. And the margin are also the same thing. We have used 8 pixels on top margin and 0 pixel for the right margin, and others we have not included. So this display inline block, it will allow you to set a fixed width and height, and box sizing is also not that important for now. The border radius will, I'll show you by running the code, then you'll get a better idea. So notice the size of the elements now, and after I run it, you can notice the difference. Okay, so now you can see the width is much larger than the previous one, because it's exactly 50% of your screen, right? Because the form element will take the whole screen, and then it's from the form element we are only getting 50%, only half. And the border, we can see, okay, the margin. So since we have added margin, you can see the we have a gap between the date and the element, and again the student ID label and the element. So this is caused due to the margin. And the border, so once you click in here, you can see we have black color. I think that's called the border. Even if you don't click, the thing we have around, like the frame thing, it's the border. So here in the border we have syntax where we have to include the border width, size of the border, and there are like 3 or 4 types of borders. You can include dotted lines, solid one, and like that, and the color. So it will be the size of the border, the type, and the color. The border radius, what the border radius does is it rounds the corners. So you can see the first one, we have like flat corners, the text box, and here we have round corners. We can make it more rounder. I'll edit the first one. I'll make it 10 pixels. Let's see, and yeah, stop the app from running. Start it from here. So you can see it's rounded. This is more rounded than the second one, right? So that's caused due to the border radius. So I'll make it again 4. Let's make the button border radius higher. No, let's make this one also 10.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, what do you call this? I mean, not the code. I mean, what is the the main purpose of doing this code? Is it like developing a form or something?
No, actually, what we are the main thing we are developing is a web application. So this whole thing is a web application, and
Oh,
inside this one we have different type of technologies, and also we have a form, HTML form. So the
okay,
main
thank
thing
you.
is the web application. Yes.
Thank you.
So this part is called inside the style tag. What we have is called the CSS, and you can add any. So if you go to the site I gave, so in here you have all the syntaxes and how to use CSS. So as you can see here, you can add stylings to the h1 tag, the body tag. So even let's try to do another styling. I'll add another style for the h1 tag. So we have only one h1 tag, I think, says absence form. Uh, we'll make it a bit bigger. If font size, right? Font size 36 and color red. So you don't need to like you don't need to learn all of these attributes separately, because there's no use. You can always just you have to learn just you can these things are possible from CSS. So you can add a hovering. I didn't show the hovering thing, right? So you can see the color is changing a bit. So on CSS, there are like thousands and thousands of properties. So it's useless to learn all of them. So what you can do is just to know what are the options you have on CSS. You can add a hovering option. You can once click, you can change the border colors. You can change the alignments, the font sizes, the fonts itself, and you can make it bold, italic, anything like that. So you will have to learn only how to use CSS. You don't need to learn every attribute in the CSS. Let's run it again and see. I think it's better if we can use a hex code. Make it 42. Yes.
So when I press the link, my one gets open in Google Edge.
Which link?
This
Last what I
coding
said.
link, this one, class 3, this coding link.
It opens in what?
Google Edge.
No, it should redirect you into this collab.
Yes, it's that, but it opens in Google Edge, not in Google.
No, that's not an issue.
Okay.
Jasita, yeah, CSS is short, not a programming language. It's like a styling. It's a styling you can't call it a programming language, right? It's just keep in mind that we use CSS to style HTML forms, HTML tags. Can't call it a programming language because we can't create anything from it. We can only style the existing elements from CSS. You mean the CSS one? CSS one I created that one earlier. Which is there are so many lines, it might take a while to type it. So here at the top you can see I have added a comment. So these comments won't affect the code. These are just for you to get to know about each elements we have used in this CSS sheet. So here I have explained those separately. So width, padding, what is the margin, border radius and all. And you can also refer the site W3 school site. This is the CSS what I used. So you have to add it inside the style tag. So that's it for the CSS part. So and if you have any questions, you can ask.
Does the code start from the 30th line?
30th line.
No, sir, in the
30,
HTML page.
in the HTML page. So you haven't added anything I sent you, right?
No, sir.
Okay. So what you have to do is on the line 4, you have a tag called head, right?
Yes.
And below that you have title.
Yes.
Okay. Now under that you don't have anything.
After that, I have style.
Okay. Inside styles, did you add the code or no?
Yes.
Is it something like this you have?
Yes, like that.
Okay.
Like that.
So what you have to do is the code I sent, you have to paste it inside this one. So all the CSS codes, CSS part will go inside the style sheet. So because it won't work outside this style tag. So paste it inside this one.
Okay.
Right. So how to do the CSS forms? You mean I'm not getting the question, Karin. You mean how to create the forms? So these are HTML forms. So in the last session, also we used this W3 school site. So here, say I want So here I'm instead of CSS, I'm using HTML W3S. School here, this section you can find HTML forms. And here they have explained how to use a form. So we use the same thing. We got input field from here, and we change one input field into from text type into date. So here this is the label, student ID, and the input field, and the label for date. And here we change the type from text to date. So that's why instead of typing a text, we can get the date. So any more questions? Okay, I think let's move on to the next part then. So now let's see how we can use an API to send this student ID and the date, the information we got from the HTML page to an API to get a service. So in our case, an SMS or some form of notification. So let me, so I'll explain a bit about APIs. So API is the acronym for Application Programming Interface. So simply saying API is just like a waiter in a restaurant. So you go to the restaurant, you give your order to the waiter, and the waiter will deliver your order to the kitchen. And once the order is prepared, he will bring it back to you, right? So this same thing happens here in an API also. We have the message. So this message we are sending student ID will be absent on this date. So this message is our order, and the SMS API we are going to use is our waiter. So we will give the message with the number to be sent to the SMS API, and it will process the details we gave, and it will send the SMS to the number we sent, and it will come back to us with a response saying whether the SMS was delivered or not. So that's how a SMS will SMS an API will work. So in Python, so we have to take the whole thing into code, right? So in Python, we have to send to connect with an API. We need a few information from the API. So the first thing is we need something like this. So here we need a URL. So this is the address, the endpoint. We call it the endpoint to send the details. And inside, so to this, let's say we have the SMS API is on api.sendinmobile.lk/send.sms endpoint. And to that endpoint, we will be sending our message. So the message will be something like this. The message student half-hours.123 will be absent on Monday, and the number to be sent. So we have to send a number as well. So the API knows which number to send the SMS. And once the SMS is sent, the API will return to us with a response. So the response will look something like this. I mean, it will look a bit advanced like this, but the basic thing is like this, something like this. So it will say the status is success. The description will say SMS was successfully delivered, or else if it fails, it will say failed SMS was SMS sending was failed due to an error or something like that. This is how basically an API works. So since we are getting the data from the form, we have no issues. We can send it to any API we want. So it's not only an SMS API. You can send it as an email using an email API. So Google, I think they themselves have email APIs. So you can use the data and use whatever the APIs you want to make the process you want. So you are not limited only to SMSs. You can use email. Just think about a new thing like you can use IoT devices to send notification to IoT devices. So the thing, the method of sending will be different, but the whole logic is the same. You will send the data, and once the data is delivered or not delivered, and even if an error comes, it will come back to you saying the status of the message, what happened to the message, was it delivered, was it not, like that. So that's how APIs work. So these three code lines won't work because these are just comment lines. These are to explain how APIs will work. So any questions on how to connect with an API, any questions regarding APIs or any previous things we have done? So you can type it in the chat if you want to ask any questions. So let's say if you, I can make it more clear on the API side. So let's say if you are using an application in your a mobile phone to get cricket match results. So once you click on that app and go to the page, what the app does is it sends a request to a cricket their cricket API. So in the cricket their server, they will have all the informations regarding the live even it's a live match or not, the scores and the details. So once the request is sent from the mobile application to the API, the API will look at what we are asking and it will send the response. So the response will have all the details you are able to see in your phone. So it will be the score, who's batting, the run rate, overs remaining, wickets, and all of those details. No. Actually, this the URL part. This thing is not for you to try. So this is just to explain how APIs works. So every API is to connect to an API, you need a URL. Tuhin, you are asking about the TADHack, right? So in TADHack, it's a different criteria. So you have to create uh, create one of your ideas into a product. So using one of our Telcom APIs. So this session, the main focus was to give you a bit of knowledge about how to create a web application, how the CSS, HTML, these things work.
Okay, sir.
So if you you can use this same code as the base, and instead of getting the student data, student ID and data, you can customize it to your match your scenario, and you can use this data to send and get responses from the APIs.
So like sending messages like a chatting application. So
Sir, during the
Yeah, you can
hackathon,
do that.
sir, during the hackathon day, since we don't have any time to show how this works, is it okay if we send them the link and we can shortly describe it?
I think there's a separate procedure, Hasangi. I think you have to send the proposal. I think Mudara, can
Yeah.
you explain it a
So
bit?
yes, Papa. So Hassan, you have to send. Did you receive the idea submission email where we asked to like fill the project proposal?
I think the message actually I saw it somewhere. I mean, no, I saw it in the website actually.
Okay, so on the website also the project proposal template is there. Otherwise, I will send you a separate mail. So the project proposal, you have to fill it up accordingly, right? We have provided a project proposal based on the sections we have given. You have to explain it and submit it. So we have actually like the deadline was today, but we have extended it up to 13th Monday because so many students requested for it to be extended. So 13th Monday midnight will be the deadline. Before that, you have to submit it. Okay. So
Submit in the sense idea only.
Only the idea, yes. Then, so you have to start developing it now onwards, right? On the day of the hackathon, we will share you Zoom link. You have to come on that link and explain the solution.
Okay.
So you can share the link as well. You said you're going to share the link. You can share the link and show us, but you have to explain it as well. Your presentation component also should be there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So are there any other people who didn't receive this idea submission email, the project proposal?
I didn't receive.
Okay. Can you send me, like, if there are like other people who have missed the project proposal, can they send me a chat? And also let me share the place where the project proposal is uploaded.
Can you explain a bit about this project proposal? I don't understand it.
Okay, so let me run you through the template as well. Give me a few minutes. So first of all, right, on the proposal, you have to now on the cover page, you have to mention the project name, right? And then you have to mention TADHack Team Sri Lanka 2021. Okay, so Hafas, shall I share my screen?
Okay, Mudar.
Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Not. Yes, can see.
Can see, no? Okay. So this is the template. Here you have to like give a name for your project and fill it up here, right? And then mainly, like, especially you have to mention this line. Don't delete it. On the project proposal template, it's already there. You have to mention it. And here, if you have team members, you have to mention the team member name, the school, email address, and the contact number, right? And especially the responsible parent teacher names must be filled here. Okay. And then, so the first section is name of the project. So you can like give a, so basically like what you have put here, the same thing can come here. You can mention the project name. And if you want anything to be described here, give a small description. And in this section, you have to give the detailed description. Like you can use images. If you have sketches, you have sketched, say, a user interface for your solution, you can mention it here. Even the sketches are also okay. The half sheet sketches are fine, right? Or else if you have like done mockups, that's also fine. You can add the images. And if you have like the tables kind of a thing, like you want to say something in a tabular format, you can include that. Solution in detail. What do you have in your mind? You can add the detailed description. So that is the second section. Any questions related to the first section or the second section?
And Mudara, we have to mention about the language. Like we don't like explicitly need English language for this.
Yes. So if you are like going with a native language, like your some any other language like Sinhala, Tamil, English, everything is accepted.
Yeah, even for the event day, like for the presentations, we accept Sinhala and Tamil as well. But anyway, if you're good at English, of course you can do the presentation in English. But if Sinhala or Tamil is the comfortable language, please go ahead with that.
Okay. So the third section is key features. So assume your solution is say your solution has some user registration, so you can add. We'll think about a website where you are going to publish events. So you can say user registration, and then the smart search or like event publishing. So the key features, you can mention it here. And it's always good if you can give a small description on like what you are thinking about the features, what you're going to do, and like how that feature will be beneficial to the user, right? So you have to list down the key features and the technologies you are going to use, whether it's going to be a mobile app, a web application, or you are doing something with robotics, that. So you can list down the technologies. So any questions around the third and the fourth section?
What sort of things do you all kind of think that, I mean, what kind of things should we do for robotics? Because we don't actually know, like, actually we don't know how to make a robot. So what should we do in robotics?
Okay, so Hasangi, if you have no idea on robotics, I mean, like, these are not mandatory. You don't have to do robotics related solution. So mainly like now we are running two segments, so TADHack and TADHack teams. So these university students might have come up with like robotics related solutions. Even school children are allowed. If you have a solution as such, you can present. But it's
what sort of solution? An example?
Robotics.
Okay, so Hasangi, let's say you develop a robot which helps which helps patients at a hospital, let's say. So there, then you actually can use this geolocation tracking, and the robot itself can send SMSs to the hospital staff. Likewise, you can build a solution around robotics, but that is actually not mandatory for your age and for your competition category, but only if you have a specific idea around robotics and if you have some knowledge how to build a robot, of course you are welcome to propose a such solution.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so any other questions? Right. Then the last.
Okay, Mudara, one thing. So actually, for the technologies, actually, if you can use HTML, CSS, and web languages to develop at least a simple website, will be enough. And even like we don't expect a really complex software solution from you as well. If you have a good solution or a good idea with at least a very small effort of development will be enough. We don't expect you to do a very advanced solution.
Yes.
So, sir, we don't need to use all of these technologies mentioned here, right? Only some of them is enough, right?
Yes.
No, actually, yeah. So if there are any other technologies, like of course there are, you can use anything. So as in the rules, we just like the entry requirement is you need to use at least one telco API. That is the only requirement. So for apart from the age and the event specific ones, so you have the full freedom to play around the technology.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So the last section is Telecom APIs. So you can go to this particular place and I will send you the link in the chat. So you can go through the API documentation. So we have SMS API, USSD API, subscription API, and the charging API. So you have to okay. So for TADHack teams, it's not mandatory for you all to use Telecom APIs, but it's better if you could use one of the APIs in your solution. So if you have used an API from this section, you can mention what API you have used. Okay, so that is the content which we hope to receive. So I will send the place where you can download this proposal, and if you all haven't received, I see some chats. So let me send you through email or WhatsApp as well. Any questions around the project proposal submission?
Well, how can I use a Telecom API in Robotics?
Okay, so Hasangi, so I will give a small an example. Now assume I'm not sure what kind of a solution you are going to create, but so the example I have given is, assume you are developing a gaming application. So if you want to send a SMS, say I have downloaded this gaming application and I'm playing it. And then in that case, if I want to subscribe to receive content, or if at the point of winning, you want to send a SMS to the person who is winning the game, or assume there is a level up feature which needs a payment. So assume I'm going to buy a coin back. So I have to pay 10 rupees. So when I click on that button, you can call that API. There's a particular API called charging API. So from that, what happens is when you call that API from the person who is playing the mobile app, from that mobile account, from his mobile account, this 10 rupees will be deducted. So only thing you have to do is you have to call that API in your coding, in your application solution. So so whatever the request parameters which you have to send, those are explained in the API documentation. Was it?
Thank you.
Okay, was it clear enough, Hasangi?
Yes, it was very clear. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Dulana Hafas, you want to add anything for the project proposal?
No, Dara, you are clear.
Right. Okay.
But we have to remind the deadline, right?
Yeah. So deadline was actually we had it today, but we have extended based on the request. So it will be 13th September midnight. before 30th September midnight, you have to send the proposal. So again, the proposal must be sent to events@zenithmobile.com. Like you have to email the project proposal to events@zenithmobile.com. So let me send you all that details here.
Can you please send the link of that website?
Sorry?
Yeah.
This is the website link. And then let me send you the email address as well. So shall I show you all like where you can download the project template? So hope you all can see see my screen. So when you go to this TADHack, so when you click on the link what I have given you, you will land on this page, right? So you have to go to this place, TADHack Teams. Click on the here, and then when you go down, you can see the timeline, right? So here we have this on we have put it as 10th September, the earlier deadline. So here you can see the download sample proposal button. You can click on it and download the template and get the same template and edit it and send it to us on events@zenithmobile.com. Clear? Okay. Any other questions?
It's cool.
Is this the last session?
Learn to code. Yes, Hasangi, this is the last session.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or shall we wrap up? Okay. Dulana, Hafas, you have anything to mention or we'll wind up the meeting?
Yes, Mudara, let's find out.
Okay. Hafas, you have anything to mention?
Is it okay if we do it a bit? I mean, like, since it says the time is only 5 minutes, is it okay if we take about 6 minutes?
Hasangi, it's like this. So 5 minutes is this time which we are allocating. So try to do it within that time limit, but we are not going to cut marks if you are exceeding 1 minute or 2. But try to limit it to 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. I mean, 1
Okay.
2 minutes, that's fine, but not not around 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.